Hello, everybody, and welcome to what's going to be one of the shorter Moohead radio programs. This is a true Browns pregame show. We don't get the opportunity to do that very often, which is that's half the fun of all this. Is if you do enough shows. I'm doing 3 shows tonight. I'm doing a pregame show, I'm doing a halftime show, and a postgame show, and it's like, holy shit. And I know everybody's waiting for the game to begin, but hey, we're doing a pregame, and we're doing it in a way so that if you want to watch something from 6 to 6:30, and you'll have plenty of time to get back, watch whatever the NFL Network does as their, pregame, and that way you get to hear professionals do it, and you get to hear a cow do it, and you can kind of take it from there. So, we have 3 of us, the mighty 3 of Rox and Rick and a cow, and we'll stick with that. Let's start here. God, I have everything lined up on here. The first thing that I wanted to do is to say, what is the real significance of this game? And I think we all would agree that the real significance of it is who's going to make the team, who's where, as far as depth charts and things of that nature. And I was looking at the Browns depth chart, and I thought it was real interesting to look at the names on this. And maybe this would be a good time for me to share my screen. What do you think? Because that way you can read along with this with me. And so I'm just sharing screen and a babunga. All right. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. What we have here is a look at the official latest depth chart of the Browns. And of course, you're seeing that Jarvis Landry is ahead of Rashard Higgins. But look, there's going to be a lot of Rashard Higgins. The interesting thing is, since we were last with you, DJ Montgomery is gone, and I really am wondering about that. He does a hamstring, and he's gone. I hear other people doing hamstrings, and they're not getting cast asunder. And Montgomery is a guy who really has looked good in camp. I'm wondering if this is a maneuver to help get him over to the practice squad. Then we have Derek Willis, and you can see that Damon Sheehy-Giuseppe is nowhere to be found. He's not even on the radar, and Dorian Baker is 4th. Those 2 guys are not going to make the team. It's going to be Higgins and Derek Willis, and Jalen Strong will be and I don't know why Jalen Strong is not even listed on this, but yes, he will be the other wide receiver. The left tackle, and this is from clevelandbrowns.com, so I mean, this is from the horse's mouth. If you don't feel good about Greg Robinson, then what do you feel about Brad Seaton and Travis Vornkall? This is the problem with depth. And, Batonio, and then Witzman, and then Forbes. Forbes was never able, out of Southeast Missouri, to really move ahead into the second slot there. And although they were trying to hype him early on, it hasn't really worked out. You've got either J.C. Treader or J.C. Treader, because God forbid the jack of no trades, Austin Corbett, is behind him. The thing that was interesting, this right guard situation that we've been talking about so much, that Eric Kush is the guy now, but look at who's number 2. It isn't Kyle Callis, it's Willie Wright. Now, this is a name that I have not heard. And I wanted to, who in the hell is Willie Wright? And so I will go to that now for you. So let's, and this is very hard for me to do, folks, because this is the way this is. Here we go. Here's Willie. He's out of Tulsa. All right. And he was a UDFA. He was an undrafted free agent. This guy started out as a defensive tackle in college, and his last 3 years he played on the offensive line. They felt he was more suited to play an interior position on the offensive line because of the length of his arms. He's quick, he's athletic, but there are problems here. Basically, as you see on the right side of the screen, as a prospect grade from NFL.com, he should be in an NFL training camp. Well, he is, but he is our number 2 guy, folks. You know, I will show you strengths and weaknesses, you know. The long arms come up. Very good in pass protection. This is something we've seen in the preseason. Holes not opening for the running game, but good pass protection for Baker Mayfield. His pass slides, very smooth. He's got good athleticism. You know, he's got that good burst of quickness, so he can pull block. He's able to adjust to the linebackers who are darting around at the line of scrimmage. But the weaknesses here are really technique issues. His lateral footwork sucks. His hands are all over the place at impact, which means the guy's probably a holding penalty waiting to happen. That initial hit doesn't really stand his man up. And again, the drive blocking power below average, which this might explain why our running game has looked rather lethargic. We're dropping back in like a shelter blocking scheme for the passing game, but we're not driving people off the line of scrimmage. The worst news you can get is that disruptions into his gaps. Oh, great. And he doesn't have the ability to redirect the edge rush back into another blocker. This wouldn't be such a big deal, honest to God, if he wasn't our number 2 guy. All right. And, you know, this again from the University of Tulsa, he played very well there. But you look at who he's playing against, and it's like Louisiana Tech, Tulane, Memphis, Toledo, UConn. Oklahoma State might be a little better. SMU, New Mexico. And, you know, and he played against USF, who was a nationally ranked team. You know, this is a guy who at the mid-level college level was a good offensive lineman, but every major rating source stated that he would be in training camp and nothing more. He's the kind of guy who would make a practice squad, and he is our number 2 guy. It is a real problem, and it's something that worries me tremendously when we're dealing with depth. And I see that Bronk is trying to get in here, and I will let him in. So right off the bat, the first thing I'm going to be looking for. Hi, Bronk. How you doing? Good. How about you? Yeah, there we go. I like a Gershwin tune. How about you? All right. So, you know, I'm going to be looking at half of Bronk's face. No, I'm going to be looking at.
Everybody else does.
Yeah. No, I'm going to be looking at specifically the guys who are the second team offensive linemen, because I guarantee you, whether it's Treader, whether it's Robinson, whether it's Bitonio, whether it's Hubbard, somebody's going to get hurt. And that depth will be tested. And guys like Willie from the University of Tulsa are going to be tested and tried, because we don't have, you know, I think, you know, getting Trent from the Giants, right, would be a real good idea. I think we need another proven offensive lineman in this menagerie that we have, and it's of real concern. So that kind of, you know, that was the first thing I noted when it came to the the depth chart. Next, you have the right tackle. You have Hubbard. Then you have Kendall Lamb, who was horrible last year. And then somebody named Brian Finian Ganofo. I mean, he's another Samoan guy who's probably related to one of them who wrestles in the WWE. How Demetrius Harris is still number 2 on the depth chart is really beyond me.
He was awful He was
bad,
awful.
Bad. And DeValve is number 3. Farrell Brown is not even going to make the team. Wide receiver 2, Odell Beckham Jr., Jalen Strong. And then we're looking at the next. Damian Ratley, Ishmael Hyman. All right. One of these two players, Ratley or Hyman, is going to be by Byman when Antonio Callaway comes backman. So, Montgomery is going to go right to the practice squad if he can clear waivers, and maybe they're hoping that the injury that he sustained will somehow make people miss out on him. I don't know. And then, of course, there's Drew Stanton firmly entrenched as number 2, which scares the living bejeebers out of me. The unavailable Kareem Hunt, number 2 running back. And, any word on Dontrell Hilliard? Is he playing tonight or isn't he?
He didn't call me today, so I don't know.
Sorry. Haven't heard. Well, I guess we'll all be pleasantly surprised tonight.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not really sure about Hilliard at all. And again, just another one of my little worries, I suppose. But
well, I'll tell you, related to this, I'll tell you what I'm worried about. No one seems to really talk about the tight end, H-back, fullback situation, which is all sort of related to the running back thing. But we need somebody that can actually block blitzers. We really need that. And we need that in this game, too, if Baker Mayfield's going to play more than 10 snaps, which I don't think he probably will. But we need like a tight end or somebody to step up. Because Harris, last week, Olay on a couple of plays that, had a holding penalty and had a drop and, but no one on these CBD radio shows seems to even brought up this tight end situation at all. Or the fact that, we got Carriage, this fullback. I mean.
Well, but the fact that we are only carrying one, and this is obviously not a big part of the offense, don't you think?
Could be an important part, though.
Well, here's the deal. Dearness Johnson or Dontrell Hilliard, and Dearness Johnson is going to get a lot of reps again to see what he can do. This game will be, at least in the first half of the game, is going to be played at a faster speed. And somebody like Dearness Johnson is going to see holes open and vanish in a heartbeat. And I would like to see Hilliard play because I want to compare these two men, because I'm not sold on Dontrell Hilliard. And the question is Dearness Johnson a better keep him honest kind of running back just from the ground game perspective? And if Dontrell Hilliard's just a receiver, if Dearness Johnson can do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, he might end up the number 2 back on this squad. And I know that the coaches are high on Hilliard, but man, he has not had a good training camp. At the defense, we got Myles Garrett and Zettel behind him. I'm happy with that. We got Ogunjobi and Carl Davis, and then Daniel Ukulele. Those guys, yeah, the ukulele man. Those 3 guys I'm happy enough with. The battle at right defensive tackle, Sheldon Richardson owns the first slot, but Trevon Coley's hanging on to number 2, but Devereaux Lawrence is charging hard for number 3, and they're going to keep both of those men. All right. Oliver Vernon, of course, is the right defensive end. Chris Smith behind him and Chad Thomas. I believe they're going to keep those 2 guys, Smith and Thomas, as well. The will linebacker is Christian Kirksey, but don't look behind you. Mac Wilson is number 2. And the same thing, Schobert is the Mike, but Takitaki is 2. And what I would tell you in both cases of Kirksey and Schobert, the question is, in what appears to be tough short yardage distances. Are you going to see Taki on the field instead of Schobert? In open space, pass defense, are you going to see Mac Wilson in as opposed to Christian Kirksey? These are things that we need to find out, but they may be guys used situationally during the course of the season, which is interesting. Jannard Avery is solidly number one, and Darius Taylor, who hasn't looked good to me, is number two, and Ray Armstrong at number three. We are short on Sam linebackers. And Avery, to be honest, we'll see the field situationally in the 4-2-5. That's that. Left cornerback, Denzel Ward is firmly entrenched, of course. TJ Carey behind him. And then it goes down to Lindsey Pipkins. I don't even know this player. Philip Gaines is behind Pipkins at this point. So I find that interesting.
Oh, Pipkins is, I think, number 41. He's famous for this video that, lasts 30 seconds of him doing a crazy dance before the kickoff on one of these preseason games either last week.
Oh, okay.
I think he played a little bit last week too, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought he was the lead character in The King of Comedy, Rupert Pipkins, at any rate.
Well, it sounds like some Agatha Christie character, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Right cornerback, Terrence Mitchell, then Greedy Williams. Now, Greedy will see the field. Don't start screaming, Cleveland fans. Terrence Mitchell is kind of deserved what he's getting.
Mitchell is. I loved him last year before he got his arm hurt. I think that made a big difference when he broke his arm in the Tampa Bay game, or whatever it was he broke, and never played again. Yeah,
I mean, to me, I like having Greedy coming out there in given situations, and having him behind Mitchell doesn't scare me.
I think defensive backs and safeties that seem to be, to me, the position area that gets hurt the most during the season, and you can't have enough good guys there because they're like Ward was getting concussed, Mitchell broke his arm, and Peppers with Peppers. I mean, there were people getting hurt at left, right, and center playing in the backfield on the defense last year. So we need lots of good guys there.
What in the hell? Is this the cat again?
No. Well, what happened to your doggies? We don't see any of your doggies anymore.
No. They're in a different locale these days, Bronk.
Oh, wow.
In cooler temperatures. Down here, I don't know if you're looking at this, but rehabbing a knee the way I'm rehabbing a knee, down here, I can't go into the mountains. And I wish I could, but I can't go up and down stairs. Really not real good with my left knee the way that it is. Wow. So, yeah, up there it's
well, that's a very good point you're making, because the weather, what is it, like 90 fucking degrees? I mean,
every day is like a 108 degree heat index.
I mean, who wants to get hurt in this game because of the weather? Are they going to have precautions?
Well, yeah, I mean, believe me, this is going to be, I hope they have, IVs, because you have no idea how humid, and even like at 6 o'clock at night, I can tell you that the heat index is still 100 degrees here.
Yeah.
And it was never used to be this way in Florida, but it sure as hell is now. So, I see nobody is telling me that we have yet another attendee here, and Jake wants to get in here. Better late than never. And we've invited him in, and now we will unmute all. You with us, Jake? There we go. All right. Well, he saw the cat and he got a boner.
What happened here? Man.
Yeah. So
sorry I'm late. A little corporate fun work stuff to deal with.
Hey, it's more important than this shit. This is only 10 more minutes on the air anyway. We're doing a true pregame show, and the battles that we're talking about, Demarius Randall, Eric Murray is back at number 2, and Sheldrick Redwine has a real tough go of it to make this team, and he has not looked impressive. So that's another one to look at. Morgan Burnett is the strong safety, and that's a little bit scary to me. And Jermaine Whitehead is the number 2 there. So, and then for those people who care about the kicking, it's Greg Joseph, then Austin Siebert. And the kick returner, this is really pathetic. Dontrell Hilliard and then Dearness Johnson, we're going to have another year of just down the fucking ball. You know, I don't want to see Dontrell Hilliard's snail-like approach to returning kicks. The guy can't return kickoffs. If that's all the better you can do, and of course Damon Sheehy Giuseppe is not going to be on the squad.
Yeah. I mean, what's this with Preferred? I thought he was supposed to be some special teams guru bullshit sort of guy. I mean, can't we train up a kick returner to actually play properly? We haven't had one since Josh Cribbs actually cared about playing football before he got paid. So, I mean, we need somebody that can actually be competent at this position.
Yeah, my guess is tonight, regardless of what fans want, I keep reading tweets from people that are really inane saying, I want to see him play a full half and then the first series in the third quarter. It's like, you want to see somebody get hurt, don't you? I mean, you know, right now.
Exhibit A.
Yeah, that's right.
No Cam Newton, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like now in a walking boot. Congratulations. And what was Cam Newton doing playing in the second preseason game of the year? You know, who in the hell knows? But this is dangerous business, and you want to keep your offense under wraps anyway.
Exactly. Why have film on these guys? I mean, if Baker really thinks he needs to play for a legitimate, improve yourself reason, then I don't know. I mean, let the coaches decide what to replace. But the person I really would want playing is Nick Chubb, because I definitely don't want Nick Chubb getting hurt. You know, I mean, we have no backup for him at all. So
I think that they're going to play a couple series and that's it. I don't think they're going to play a half. I think they'll play a quarter.
Yeah, I mean, it could be 10 plays, could be 15 plays. I think there should be a set number of plays, and if they reach that on a particular drive, then they'll finish that drive out, then that'll be it. So it's either going to be 10 or 15 or 20. I wouldn't play Chubb. I'd fucking rest him. I wouldn't play him.
Here's something that bodes well for the Cleveland Browns. Week 1 game against the Titans have lost their left tackle, who is their big money left tackle, Taylor Lewin, suspended for performance-enhancing substances.
Wow. And I watched that. You watched some of that game on Game Pass last night. Their line isn't good.
And they can't afford this. He became the league's highest-paid offensive lineman last season after signing a 5-year, $80 million deal. And it is the ultimate bad timing for the Titans. They start out with the Browns, then the Colts, the Jaguars, and the Falcons. So this is not going to get any easier. But this helps us tremendously to put pressure from basically, with all kinds of blitzing and stunning, whoever's taking over at left tackle may not be the man.
Well, the thing is, they got Mariota and Tannehill. Now, they're almost getting a quarterback controversy there because Mariota's mediocre as Mariota is ever going to be, and Tannehill is just as mediocre. But if one of them gets killed because they can't block for him, then the other one's going to have to, play. So,
well, the other thing there is that it's going to be who turns the ball over least. Mariota takes care of the ball better than Tannehill does traditionally. That's probably why he's the starting quarterback. One thing I did see, it's a quote, and this is from Drew Stanton. This was the reason I came here, to help whoever they drafted, and John Dorsey took that role very seriously, so I knew what it was. I knew it was my job to help Baker Mayfield. And this is, I don't think that he's ready to step in and play, and he is the number 2 quarterback. But, in every good situation, Bernie Kosar always gave a lot of credit to Gary Danielson. And we always haven't had the most cooperative quarterbacks. And especially recently, from Jeff Garcia on forward, these people, they were all like Hoyer. And they were all very selfish players who wanted to start. They didn't want to be a backup. And we saw it with RG3. They didn't help young quarterbacks, didn't take them under their wing. And this becomes a real problem. We have a guy now who is a tutor, a mentor, and who knows his lane to stay in. And I think that is a really good thing. So I like to give credit to somebody where they actually do something that is good.
Well, if you want to see somebody who's absolutely still awful, look at the Eagles with Cody Kessler is playing in their preseason games. My God, he is worse than Kaiser with the Packers. The Eagles are awful when Kessler plays.
I think he's hurt now, isn't he? That's why they brought in Josh McCown.
Did Kessler get hurt in that game?
I think so. I thought I read somewhere about a concussion or something, and that's why they signed McCown.
Oh, he was just hanging on to the ball.
Yeah. McCown's an Eagle now, isn't he?
Yep.
Wow.
So what are they? They're saying that Wentz is hurt?
No, we're talking about the backup. Wentz isn't playing in these games, so Kessler.
No, I didn't think so. I mean, so what are we talking about? Who was the backup?
Kessler.
Nat somebody. He got hurt before Kessler did.
Well, probably actually having McCown is a step up from an unknown guy. This is a disgrace, what I'm going to say next. I mean, you do these. The Players Association needs to get their act together. Headline, Raiders and Packers play on an 80-yard field due to issues. Now, this should never happen. This is something that happens in Vince McMahon's fucking league. I mean, get this. They want to play the game up in Manitoba. All right. Why you want to play a fucking game in Winnipeg? I got no goddamn idea. But due to holes in the end zones in the field where the goalposts of the Canadian Football League's bigger field are usually planted, it forced the Raiders and the Packers to play on a short field. I mean, who knows what other condition that field was in? There has to be a standard here.
Exactly.
And if I were the Players, I would have just refused to play. I would have said, fuck.
Well, a few years ago, they tried to play in Yankee Stadium, and the issue was there was like 4 yards or 6 yards between the end zone and the
wall
barrier.
Yeah.
So they just said, no, there is absolutely no way we're playing in this condition because players will get hurt. So they didn't think ahead then. So,
well, actually, they phrased it differently. Jake. What they said at the time was that that end zone was 4 feet away from the assholes. If it was in Yankee Stadium, that pretty well covers it. I've never seen you watching the Mets sweep the Indians, by the way, and I have to say this: the New York fans. Well, I mean, the catch, my God. I mean, they're destined. They're hot. They're destined. We hit them at the wrong time. Fuck them. I mean, it's like they got a lead and it rained from the heavens. I mean, God is a Mets fan right now. But the fans are just as ignorant in that side of New York as they are on the other end. Balls that are like 8 inches off the plate, and they're going, that should have been a strike. It's like fucking New Yorkers.
Hey, Tim Tebow effect. He technically plays for the AAA there. So,
well, that's moving up for him. Positive upward mobility. The Carolina Panthers are cautiously optimistic that Cam Newton will be available week 1. Mild sprain of his foot. That's what we need, is an immobile Cam Newton. That's exactly what the Panthers need. It's and again, Freddie Kitchens is not saying how long the players are going to play and all this, but I'm sure he has his ideas. I think he sees the depth problem, and I think you're going to see the backup offensive line in there relatively quickly. And you've got to play Drew Stanton in this game. You've got to get him on the field.
100%.
I mean, he's seen nothing. And I'll tell you another thing. You've got to let Austin Siebert kick in an actual game situation.
Yeah.
So
got to find out one way or another.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, one of them's going to come through and one of them isn't, but it makes no damn bit of difference if only one guy's kicking. And Greg Joseph is the guy who in every game is getting the actual field goal opportunities, and Austin Siebert isn't seeing the field. And it's not a good thing to be picking from. And I think the Browns are kind of sitting around waiting on the Vikings. And I think now they're also going to take a look at Tampa Bay's kicker, Brazilian guy, I believe, who is, believe it or not, is being overtaken in camp by a rookie kicker whose last name is Gay. I'm not saying anything. The guy who is the incumbent kicker there And I forget his name. Maybe somebody in the chat room knows his name. He's like from Brazil. A short guy, about 5'8", 5'9".
Aguayo? They cut him, right?
Who?
Roberto Aguayo?
Oh, no, he's long gone. Aguayo was shipped overseas in a crate, never to be ever again. What a disaster that was.
Yeah.
Is it Santos?
Yeah, that's right. That's
Philip
right.
Slauson is the one that gave that name in the chat room.
Yep. Now, Philip has been bothering the piss out of me about the place kicking situation for the Cleveland Browns, and he wanted Gillen to be the guy, and I told him he only made 61% of his field goals in Arkansas at Pine Bluff, and he can't be the one. Santos is an interesting story. He was very good in his rookie year with the Chiefs, but he tore up his groin muscle. And he really hasn't been the same since. There's something more to this story because he was exceedingly accurate and really good for the Chiefs. Then he went down, and rather than kind of say, okay, we'll bring in somebody else and all, they brought in somebody else and they waived him, and which was really kind of an unusual circumstance. And he's bounced around 3 more teams since then. And he's re-injured that groin on 1 or 2 occasions. So maybe teams are a little bit nervous about him. But believe me, the Browns are going to be looking at him when he hits the field tonight. And I believe that either he or Bryant are on the radar of the Cleveland Browns if Bryant loses his job up in Minnesota. So those are the 2 guys that might be the most logical to look at. I'm not saying they're great, but those are the guys. So, but yeah, watching our 2 guys kick, it's going to be a real clown show. And they're consistently missing field goals in practice. You think that one guy would grab the bull by the balls. It's not happening, or it's not happening. So that's it. I make no predictions. I don't care about predictions. I want the team to come out healthy. And what I would also like to see in this game is Jalen Strong and Derek Willis getting opportunities to play on the field with Baker Mayfield, not just with Drew Stanton. I want an idea because, again, Odell Beckham hasn't played a full season. Okay, he gets hurt every single year. He's like a thoroughbred horse. He's very lightly put together. So we are going to have to rely on some of that depth. And with Antonio Callaway gone the first 4 weeks, I want to see these 2 guys get an opportunity out on the field with the main quarterback and see which one of them has developed a better chemistry with Baker Mayfield. I think Jalen Strong has by far been the stronger receiver, no pun intended. And I think that he's the guy who's up first, but it'll be interesting. So that's of interest. And then the other thing of interest for me, the backup offensive line and Dearness Johnson versus Hilliard. Those are the battles that I'm really looking at first and foremost to get an idea of who fits into the offense scheme and what offensive linemen we have to back up the names that we have. I'll also be looking at Devereaux Lawrence going up out of his number 3 slot because he's been putting a lot of pressure on teams in camp. And this also is something that between he and Trevon Coley, I think we're going to keep them both for depth, but it'll be interesting to see who rises to the occasion. So that's it. I got to get out of here because I've got to go hunting for a stream. So, or else there ain't going to be no halftime post-game show. So, enjoy your watching of the game wherever you are. And we'll be back again at halftime. We'll be utilizing StreamYard, and I'll have all the information up on Twitter for that, on how you can view the show on YouTube. The links are already created, and how to get into the studio in the post-game show if you are so inclined. Take care, everybody. We'll see you at halftime. Go Browns, and let's hope for the best.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Oh, she speaks.
Yeah, I couldn't let the show go by without speaking.
Good thing I didn't stop the stream. That's it. We're done. You've seen it all now if you've seen Roxanne talk. We'll be back again at halftime. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night for now.